Okay.
Again, confirmation lang, Mark, no? This will be the first of a series of ongoing survey on this election, this 2019 election. You have other surveys ongoing or planned?
We have an ongoing part in this survey right now. So what we're doing this week is we presented the advocacy of all party lists, and then we presented the representatives of each party list. So it's ongoing right now. It's in our application. Last week we did a Senate survey, all 62 senatorial polls. The difference there is we presented the background of each senatorial polls, the platform. Instead of relying on the brand of each senatorial polls, we presented his advocacy, achievement. Then we had our users vote whether they trust it, they are aware of this candidate, and whether they will vote for it. So in relation to Valdes elections, so our data is in real time. We can immediately commission a survey next week. Then the results, you can immediately have it as soon as Monday the following week.
Shall we?
Yeah. I'm sure the findings or observations will lead us to ask questions on the methodology, how you arrived at it. How did you arrive at those findings or conclusions or observations?
Correct, sir.
Yeah.
So Ms. Marlene will be helping me explain the results later on. But before we proceed with the results, a brief overview of what our company does.
Yes.
Why we started the company. As I mentioned earlier, the name of the application came from the book of Dr. Rizal. Another reason why we started the company is I'm an advocate of World Vision. So with the company, we can help out more people using the application. Because for example, most of our respondents are in the B2B market. Whenever they win like 500 pesos in their weekly raffles and their promos, and laking bagay they call me Boss Martin. Boss Martin in QA, ang gatas ng anak ko, may pamalengke na. It's really, masarap ko yung feeling doon. So that's one of the reasons why we started. And then for Ms. Marlene.
Marlene, can we ask you to take a seat? Sir, can you transfer first so that Marlene can take a seat? Para makita yung screen.
Can you proceed to the next one? So the problem that we're trying to solve is based on our research, the cost of a traditional market research here in the Philippines, whether it's in the public sector, whether it's in the private sector, it's 1,300. That's the average rate per respondent. So imagine if you're aiming at 2,000 respondents, how much would the survey cost? So I've been blessed to be a consultant for small and medium enterprises for more than a decade already. And I know how great their products are, but in terms of spending on millions on market research, I would rather spend it on new stores, new products, new production lines. So that's what we want to solve. We want to give them the same advantages that can only be afforded before by large enterprises. So for the solution is we developed this application called Tangere. It provides market research in real time. It's credible because of the large number of respondents. We adhere to statistical procedures. We have data scientists and statisticians on board. So they are the ones who create our programs for our customers. And as Doc Mike said earlier, we invested on the Rolls-Royce of data analytics. So aside from the real-time data in the application, we can do a deep dive analysis based on the results of our survey. Let's say, for example, you're a candidate. You wanted to know who voted for you for a certain city. For example, who voted for you for Bacoor, Cavite. We can have that data. What's the age group of your voters who voted for you or against you? What's their socioeconomic status? All of those data can be seen in our data analytics.
Of course, it's all sampling, no?
Yes, sir.
There are 60 million voters. Okay, let's go to brass tacks. 60 million voters. Is that the recent number being announced by the COMELEC? 60 million voters. All right. So, what is the sample size of this population that you got. The others, they only use 1002 or 1003 sample for a population of 60 million voters. In your case, what is the sample size?
Our sample size, for our community, we call them the Tangere community. So we have around 40 to 50,000 members of our community. For that community, our sample size is around 2,500 weekly. So all of our weekly surveys, we get around 2,500 from our community. So that's representative of those members of our community, sir.
When you say, that's why I don't want to ask about the methodology. Let's find out first what are your initial findings based on your survey, and then we will look into the methodology that is very peculiar to you. I respect innovation, inventions, applications. Okay, that's understandable. We can follow that, data analytics and all. But can you present to us what are your findings, and then we'll ask you about the methodology. How did you arrive?
So after the presentation about their companies, and they can proceed with the...
Actually, that's the last slide already. Ms. Merlin, if we can open the other PowerPoint presentation.
So you're doing this on a commercial basis, no? You have clients who requires market research on their product, like for example restaurants, car companies, whatever it is, no? So they need analytics like this so that they can be guided to more or less pursue what is best for their products and their companies. So this is an application on business, on commercial scale, but you also do opinion surveys, basically, using the same technology and all these things now. So you started with the business process, you have clients, mga negosyante, mga restaurant, mga kung ano-ano, but the process that you're doing, ganun rin, basically, ang ginagawa natin. Now, you have done an opinion survey based on the credibility and trustworthiness of Smart Matic and Comelec. That is what Senator Lina is now asking. No? So, siguro, after the introduction of who you are, what your company is all about, we can now present what your findings, this survey of which you have 2,500 sample population you did, no? Survey, and you asked 10 questions to reflect and probably to answer. The general question is, nagtitiwala pa ba ang tao sa Comelec or sa Smart Matic to conduct a credible and clean election this coming May 13, 2019 midterm election? So siguro, after introducing yourself, let's already go directly to your findings, no? To the survey that you did a week ago, so that our friends from the media, our friends from DMA, from ABS-CBN, and the rest of the guys here can ask directly questions from you, and maybe you can explain some more.
Alright, so as you can see in the screen, that's the profile of the participants that were included in our sentiment analysis last week regarding the clean and honest elections. So, in terms of the gender, it's 41% male, 59% female. You can see in the screen the breakdown of the demographics in terms of the civil status, in terms of single or the married guys with children. And the most important thing here will be whether they are registered voters or not. So 88% of those who responded last week were registered voters. And then in terms of the socioeconomic status, this is representative of what we have now in the Philippines. So 80% of them are from the D2E market. The rest are from the A, B, and C market. So those are the profile of our participants last week. Alright, for the executive summary, this was prepared by our market research director, si Ms. Marlene. Yes.
This summary can be taken as parang ito na yung conclusion of result. Findings.
That's the final one.
Go ahead. This is based on the 2,500 respondents that you surveyed, no? And the 10 questions, sentiment questions that was thrown to them to answer. This is your findings, basically.
So, in terms of the general findings, 2 out of 3 participants of the survey, which is representative of our Tangere community of around 40 to 50,000 people, they feel that there's widespread cheating in the national elections. That's the result of our survey that we did last week. And they said that part of the questions that we asked is, they said that corrupt officials can easily bribe Comelec. That's the result of our respondents.
That's 65%.
Around that range. Okay.
2 out of 3.
Yes, sir. In terms of statistical findings, it's 64 to 68%.
What's
Anong margin of Anong margin of error dito, sir? How many percent?
Yeah, you can join us already, Ms. Marlene.
Okay, this is just because of this is just based on our community, right? And the total number of respondents actually went down to 1,820 because some of the respondents out of the 2,500 were not able to finish the questions. So we just focus on those who were able to complete the entire questionnaire. That's 1,820. So if we're talking about margin of error, normally we just get around 1,000, right? So this is almost double. Yeah. But having said that, still, we're focusing on high results, meaning if it's the majority already, most likely that's the pulse of the public, right? Okay.
Thank you. Sorry for the
No, it's
question.
okay.
Please go ahead and finish the summary, Mark.
All right.
We would like to welcome the president of the National Press Club here with us, Lakay Rolly. Thank you for coming.
Morning, sir. There's a question here, the second result. Majority still of our respondents trust Comelec. So we had a few questions raised here on why they still trust Comelec, even though they said that there's widespread cheating. So, for example, is this a functionality of the limited understanding of the issues? So those questions is, the good thing about our application is we can raise a follow-up survey next week, for example, and ask our respondents in terms of your knowledge of what happened last 2016, 2013. We can gauge their knowledge to answer those lingering questions. And this one is big. 8 out of 10 respondents said that they feel that foreign entities handling our elections is against the Constitution. They prefer Filipinos to handle the automated elections.
Mark, for a while. Foreign entities, meaning siguro hindi lahat ng Pilipino nakakaalam that Smartmatic is not a Filipino corporation. Smartmatic is a Venezuelan company, basically, that was given by government, particularly Comelec, the contract to do this automated elections. The system that is being used in this automated election
tayo na kasi sinip.
Smartmatic, basically. So, ganun. So, the question that you're saying there, na ayaw, ay parang unconstitutional ang feeling.
That's part of the questions that we ask. And then we have lingering questions there, similar to the initial questions is, are they aware that Smartmatic is a foreign entity? So again, it's something that we can do as a follow-up survey next week. So it's part of the program that we can raise next week to answer all of those lingering questions.
What do you mean by majority of voters in the second finding?
All right.
What's the percentage? In the first finding, 2 out of 3 voters feel that there is widespread cheating in AES, and that corrupt officials can easily bribe COMELEC and Smartmatic to rig the AES in their favor. It's 2 out of 3. And yet, in the finding number 2, you said majority of voters trust both Smartmatic and the COMELEC to run the AES and agree to its continued use. There seems to be a contradiction between the finding number 1 and finding number 2. So what exactly does this finding or do these findings tell us?
Correct, sir. So, as I mentioned earlier, we have lingering questions as well. We noticed the trend. We noticed that it's kind of contradicting. So, we have lingering questions here. Like, for example, it may be because of their limited knowledge in terms of the issues. So, as mentioned by Doc Mike, so this is just the start of our study. So next week we can always commission a new survey and the good thing about this, aside from the quantitative analytics that we can gather from the application, we can do focus group discussions on our respondents and see their deep reason why they answered this way.
Can we see the 10 questions that you asked? Because that will help us determine
Yes, sir.
whether the findings are really based on their understanding of the questions that you asked them.
Can you go back? The first, it's in the first. Can you see at the back? It's kind of small. Those are the 10 questions that we asked. We first asked them, are you a registered voter? So 88% of the respondents said that they are registered voters. And then we asked them, nabilang ba ang boto ko sa results ng election gamit ang AES? So that's the second question. The third question is...
Can we know what is the answer? I mean, what is the percentage?
Let's forward to the findings now. So the findings were prepared by Ms. Marlene. Ms. Marlene, if you can help me here. Okay. So, let's see. So the questions here is, voters agreed that their votes were counted by the AES. So those are the results.
So what's the result?
Okay, so they were presented statements actually. All they have to do is agree or disagree on the statement. So in this one, nabilang ang boto ko sa resulta ng eleksyon gamit ang computerized election system. 93% said yes or agree. And then 7% said no, disagree. Okay?
Okay, so in this case, there's an overwhelming support for the automated election system because if that's the sentiment of the voters that their votes were counted, then that's a plus point for COMELEC and for the automated election system.
But when they were...
Regardless of their understanding of what is this election system,
Yes.
okay? But this is a direct question.
Yes, this is a direct question.
Voters, how is it framed again?
Nabilang ang boto ko sa resulta ng eleksyon gamit ang computerized election system.
Okay, then it's very obvious that the voters believe that their votes were counted.
Counted, yes.
And if their votes were counted, then whatever came out is credible.
However, in the other statement, may malawakang dayaan sa computerized election system. Only 64% agree. Yes, may dayaan. So, may dayaan pa rin in their heads, may dayaan.
Can you state a question with regard to...
May malawakang dayaan sa computerized election system. Agree or disagree? 64% agree.
And yet, in the first question,
They said
my vote was counted, therefore believable. In the second question, may malaking dayaan.
Yes.
Eh, contrast yun eh.
It's contrasting, yes. That's why we're also asking, part of our summary there was asking, is it because they have limited understanding of how it works?
So, yung malawak ang dayaan is directly connected to the automated election system? Is that how you frame the
Yes,
question?
may malawakang dayaan sa computerized election system.
So that's where the follow-up study is. So it's possible na nabilang nga siya, but to whom? Is it to the right person that I voted for? So that's something that we can ask them next. And then another thing that we can do is we can do qualitative analysis. Why did you answer this way? Why do you feel this way? Why do you feel that there's widespread cheating in the elections, but you still feel that your vote was counted? So that's where the follow-up questions will come in. So as we mentioned earlier, this is just the start of our study. This was done last week. We can always conduct another study this week to answer all of those questions, Senator.
Okay, what's the third question?
Kayang-kayang bayaran ng mga korap na politiko ang COMELEC at Smartmatic para sila ay papanaluhin sa eleksyon gamit ang computerized election system. 88% agree.
88% agree.
So that's 9 out of 10.
Okay. Well, again, this finding contradicts the first finding. Okay. Alright. So we can see the contrast, no? The discrepancy or the conflict. Then next.
May tiwala ako sa computerized election system ng Smartmatic. 3 out of 4 voters trust Smartmatic.
So again, this is consistent with the question number 1.
Yes.
But 2 and 3 are not consistent with
Yes.
finding number 1 and number 4.
Yes, sir.
Next.
May tiwala ako sa kakayahan ng COMELEC na magpaandar ng computerized election system. So 83% agree.
Finding number 1 and finding number 4.
Yes.
Next.
Mainam na ipagpatuloy ng COMELEC ang paggamit ng Smartmatic's computerized election system.
There you are. 1, 4, 5, 6. They are all consistent. Okay. Then,
Ang pagkuha ng dayuhan para magpatakbo ng pagboto at pagbilang ng boto o election system ay hindi naaayon sa konstitusyon or illegal. 77% also agrees.
well, that's neutral. Meaning the result is not neutral, but the understanding is not relevant
Relevant to that.
1, 4, 5, 6.
Mas mainam ang hybrid na sistema o kombinasyon ng pamamaraan ng manual na pagbilang at electronic transmission o ang pagpapadala ng boto gamit ang computer systems. So this one is almost all, so there's 95% agree that the hybrid system is better.
But again, it's inconsistent with finding 1, 4, 5, 6. Okay.
May tiwala ako sa kakayahan ng mga Filipino IT programmers at professionals na gumawa ng computerized election system. So same, 94% agree.
That's the anti-foreign sentiment system. I think what you have to resolve really is the inconsistency between findings number 1, 4, 5, 6 up to 1, 4, 5, 6. No? 2 and 4 totally contradict
So clear.
finding 1 and 4. 7, 8, 9 are not really, it's a perception, constitutionality, legality, and belief in Filipino. They're not directly connected to the counting of votes. So what can be the reasons why this
So it's also in our heads, we're thinking it was difficult to analyze the results of the study. So we were thinking of some factors that might have affected the way they answered. It's either they have limited understanding.
if I'm smartmatic, I will use your study and translate it to the whole world. Comelec also, I will use your study and translate it to the whole world.
Yeah.
It's either they have limited understanding of the quirks of the automated election system, or they don't really care whether there's cheating or not, as long as they're voting. So we can only surmise right now, or probably they're too busy to
To analyze.
to analyze their own answers. So it's showing us the kind of voters that we have, actually. Right? So as Martin mentioned, we can actually come up with follow-up studies, whether it's quantitative by the applications or qualitative by focus group discussion, to understand really what's on their head. Just to share, I did previous focus group discussions on something similar, and also the answers of respondents are kind of conflicting. It's about behavior of some politicians that despite their misdealings with the politicians, they're still willing to vote for these politicians. So in a similar token, we can see a similar pattern here.
Even if there is a widespread condemnation of almost all people in government,
Yes.
and yet people participate still in election. That's what we're trying to say here. What you're trying
So
to
it's
say.
also conflicting. It's something that, we've not,
So the Filipinos are conflicted, no?
yes, conflicted, highly conflicted right now.
But-
And they have a tendency to rationalize that anyway, it's happening all over, not just in the Philippines, whether it's bad politics or cheating, whatever. We just choose the lesser evil.
So mababaw ang kaligayahan natin.
This is based on my qualitative study in another study.
Okay. I will ask a series of questions. No? Number one, what do you mean by your community, Tangere community of 40 or 50,000? Is that a sample size that you
What we're
have?
trying to say is, obviously, unlike the traditional surveys done face-to-face, house-to-house, doing the statistical rigidity of computing for margin of error and confidence level, obviously our respondents are not the same, because these are people who have smartphones. That's the only way you can participate in the study, if you download the app. So they have smartphones, they have access to mobile internet. So basically, in terms of demographics, there might be a slight difference. Obviously, they're from the profile a while ago, they're younger. But in terms of demographic profile, they're more, the ones who are answering, participating in the surveys are more of the okay? Compared to the national average, I think the proportion in terms of ABCD in the national, based on our population, is much higher in the Philippine population, the distribution of upper C compared to ours. So okay, so having said that, it's our community is only, this is just the sentiment of the Filipino masses, with leaning towards the BE and younger.
Are you saying you have a database of the telephone numbers
No, sir. What happens there is they download the application from their smartphone.
Yes.
So, and then we get their profiles
How do you spread the news or this information?
through the application. So it's think Facebook.
Yeah.
So it's like a Facebook, but it's doing sentiment, questions on sentiments.
So you ask us questions to Facebook?
I know, sir.
All of the questions are in the application. So just to add to what Ms. Merlin mentioned, part of our advocacy is to
But this app, this has to be first communicated.
yes,
That there is this app.
it's part of our marketing campaign, sir. Mostly digital marketing campaign. So we leverage on Google Ads, we leverage on Facebook marketing to get our respondents. Our goal this year is to get around 150,000 members.
Okay, that's how you communicate.
Yes,
or
sir.
inform the people of this app
Tama po.
through various social media platform.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's how we do it.
Yes, sir.
And then once they downloaded the app already, we can communicate to them that there's an ongoing survey through the application. And then they can choose to participate what type of survey they're going to answer in that application.
So when you say 50,000 community, what do you exactly mean? Those who
Downloaded the application
the
software.
application software.
So that's the community.
Correct. And our active members of our community. So we collaborate with them. We have followings already in Facebook. So they message us. We have a group. So it's like really a community. We know each other. I know almost all of our members by name.
50,000.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it. Whenever, for example, you get constant message from 1,000 people daily, you will remember their name in the face.
1,000 people, but 50,000, that's a big challenge.
It's a challenge, but it's part of what we call crushing it. So it's part of communicating daily with your audience. So it's part of a discipline that we try to maintain with the company. We treat them as family members, as community members, not as random respondents that I get from the mall or something. Yes, sir.
What I understand is this. The purpose of this particular study is really not to favor anybody here, but the survey is actually a study. We would like to know the attitude, the behavior, the heart, and we would like to understand why Filipinos vote this way, act this way in an election. We would like to go deeper using technology, in this case, data analytics or big data analytics, no? To do a dive. No? That's the reason why that this is a first of a series of studies, no? / surveys, because what we're trying to do here is really to get down to the bottom of the question. Okay? We're not here to favor Comelec or Smartman. We're not here to condemn them. We're not here. We would like to understand basically what the Filipino heart is saying when it comes to elections. And there's a new issue here because since 2010, there's a new group na pumasok. Before that, tayo lang mga Pilipino ang involved dito sa eleksyon. Now, here's a technology provider that is non-Filipino, and that was one of the questions na tinanong nyo. No? So, that is the sentiments. No? So, maybe in the succeeding studies, no, we would like to invite you again here sa Mata sa Balota Forum to elucidate further and even go deeper. Kasi kailangan natin maintindihan bakit ganito tayo tuwing eleksyon? Bakit ganito ang nangyayari sa eleksyon natin? Okay? Ang sabi nila, dalawa lang daw yung resulta ng eleksyon. Nanalo ka o dinaya ka. So that's basically common. Pag natalo ka, you go to the media and you make a press release and sabihin mo, nadaya ako. Okay? So, is this the reason or part of the reason why you are doing this? Ang sabi ni Mark kanina, this is independent and this is not, you're doing this at your own expense, basically. Nobody is financing you, although your commercial activities is really a survey group for businesses. No? Yan yung hanap buhay nyo, yan yung daily, bread and butter nyo. But you're doing this survey opinions on a national issue like election. And nobody's paying you here.
Yes, sir,
basically.
correct. And if I may add, if we really wanted to do
Business.
if we want to make it easier for both of us, because we know that the results are